I do believe in God.
Yeah, I believe in God.
I've always believed in God, and I think a belief in God is maybe separate from belief in religion.
Maybe I would say that I don't believe in God necessarily. I was raised to maybe believe in God, but I think maybe through my own journey, I have chosen to believe in an energy. I think that's what I believe in.
Yes, I do believe in God. I feel like believing in God is one of those things that you can either develop or you just have a feeling, but I feel like the way you develop it is through experiencing things that could not have happened if there wasn't like a higher power.
Well, that's an interesting question, because what do you mean by God?
I believe, yes, I believe there's a God or a higher power. I don't know what that is, but...
But yeah, maybe also I just maybe find it daunting to call it God, because it sounds like such a big word. But yeah, maybe actually God is energy, and maybe that's a way to kind of demystify religion in many ways, that it's not like, oh, you believe in God, but you can just believe in energy. And energy could also be, I mean, it could be a spiritual thing, but it could also be maybe this kind of chemical connection that you have with yourself and the natural world around you, perhaps.
If you grew up quite skeptical about it, how did you come to this conclusion that you do feel like there's something more?
I mean, I'd say it's pretty obvious that there's something.
I think I've always believed in God, but of course that belief I think became stronger once I started studying the faith.
Yeah, I believe that there is God and there is higher power and there's something that is way bigger than us. I believe the world is so beautiful and amazing, and it's kind of hard to understand it with what we just know today. So I do believe there is some kind of higher power.
Yeah, I think I believe in a power greater than myself, that exists outside of myself, that created all this. But yeah, I believe in God.
That is a hard one to explain.
This is something I asked myself a lot when I was actually coming out of high school. I wanted to do like a period of service, thinking about the Baha'i faith, what I wanted to do with my life, and I was like, why do I actually believe in God?
To me, it's sort of obvious, and I understand that that's not the case with a lot of people.
Because my mom is a Buddhist, and I just grew up in the environment that there are a lot of gods. And also in Chinese cultures, there's always God. Like, although we use different terms, it's just very natural for me.
I don't think I chose to believe in God, I just believe in God. If that makes any sense.
Okay, I believe in God because...
I don't think things just happen for no reason. My faith taught me to believe in God.
I feel like my life has been touched by this amazing force that has guided me, that has presented opportunities, that has provided so much love and comfort and crazy, miraculous things that make me have to say, well, there must be a God.
I think why I believe in God has to do with, there was a point in my life where I was going through hardship, as anybody does. And at that point, nothing felt stable and nothing felt sure or certain or really clear. And all of those things that would normally really help to ground you weren't there necessarily, or at least not to the degree one can lean on. And so I think at that point is when it became clear to me that the only certainty was to rely on God in those moments. And so I think through that experience, it really affirmed my belief in God and I guess my reliance and trust in Him.
I feel like, you know, all these moments have like been examples of God's presence in my life.
I think for me, God has just always been a feeling. I know that God exists.
I think it's difficult to approach the question too logically. I don't think I can say this thing happened, or I've had this dream, or I've had this experience in my life that means therefore I think God was the cause of that or something. I think believing in something greater than yourself is an incredibly powerful tool for living your life. And I think it's helpful to believe in a God even if there wasn't one, I would probably say.
Well, I think there's several reasons why. I think the most simplest argument where you could be like, why not? If I didn't believe in God and I die, there's two outcomes. Either there's no God and there's no afterlife, so you're dead, nothing happens. Or you die and there is a God, and so you kind of were in the wrong. But if you believe in God and you die, then you're in the right. So that's one, I guess, answer.
It's just there's something greater. And for me, it's like about whether you want to see as a whole or you want to see in multiple aspects. Like I can feel God in many different ways. Like whenever I cross the bridge to the office, the wind breeze, and then I see the light just reflecting on the river, I feel it's something very divine or like undescribable. Then I felt that. And then it's just like similar way that a lot of things makes people feel the God in very different way, and that will be that person's God. And then it's just like when you see it as a whole, I felt it should be just like God. I guess, like, yeah.
I think it's because I just know that all these things that we see, nature and all these things couldn't possibly be man-made. All these intricacies of nature and how everything coexists perfectly, that's not something that we could have possibly thought of. So no, it's definitely God's doing, and all these wonderful, beautiful things.
I really see God manifested in these beautiful, imperfect ways. Whenever I see something super beautiful in nature, I'm like, wow, God is great. And that's kind of what it boils down to for me.
Because if you look at the detail, like relating to our bodies, everything, like the world, the elements, everything, they're very detailed. And it doesn't make sense that they're all created from one big explosion. At least to me it doesn't. There's a lot more complexity to it. When you look at our human body, every single small part plays a role in like helping us survive. So I can't get myself to believe that a random explosion created all of that.
This idea of intelligent design. Intelligent design is something beyond that. And it's thinking about the world. How is nature, the world, everything around us, how is it designed the way it is? For example, something like as simple as water. Water is the one thing that we as humans, as people, as animals, anything in the world cannot live without. And it's so unique in its principles and everything about water. Water is most dense at 4 degrees, whereas it's not even ice, which is like an amazing principle in itself. But something like this is because of the design of water. And things like that cannot happen without a higher being designing these things with these unique principles. Yeah, science has a lot to do with it, but there is a greater being, that being God, that designs these things, that designs the world we're in, and it actually explains a lot of these things.
The things we see today, like the butterflies and the circle of life and all of that, it's at a scientific level, we can understand it, but it's also how did that come to be? That's the part that I think there's so many unanswered questions. And I think believing in a higher power, that would make it a lot more understandable.
I think one of the biggest reasons why I believe in God is because science, for example, has not been able to find what exactly makes consciousness in itself. So I feel like if when science in itself, which claims to have answers to all the things in the world, cannot actually answer what exactly consciousness is, it means that there is something that governs it. When we talk about Big Bang Theory, again, there are 100 theories out there, about the Big Bang and like how it sort of happened. But I just look at it in this perspective that exact precision, that exact millisecond when it actually happened, I mean, there must be something supporting it. Like even when we're carrying out any kind of a scientific or social experiment, we have an external sort of person ensuring that everything is under control. That's why it's called a controlled experiment in itself. So I feel like this, like the universe, is also a controlled experiment of God. And I think that is one of the biggest things that, I think guides my belief.
I've been lucky enough to have a lot of conversations with a lot of people from different backgrounds, some who believe in God from different religions and some who don't. And I was able to do my own research, and I came to the understanding and the belief that there's a limit to what can happen randomly.
I follow the Baha'i faith, and I think the logic in this case behind the revelation of different manifestations over time makes sense to me and sort of feels like a sensible way that an all-knowing being would create things.
Through the studying I have done so far in my life of religious texts, I do see evidence in the text that there is a God that humanity learns from through the manifestations of God.
Yeah, the reason I think I believe in God is mostly if you look at the religions through time, and if you look at what all of them say, it would be quite bizarre that over so many centuries and over so many millennia that somebody came up with the intricacies of prophecies and revelation and like things and how they work together, that it would be almost, even if it isn't God, it would be somebody who is so smart that like not believing in what they say would be a bit stupid, because you normally believe smart people, and if somebody has come up with all that stuff and it's coherent, then it would be stupid not to believe that.
When you study the Bible or the Quran or the Baha'i writings or religions that came before, a lot of the text points towards kind of education for humanity, learning how to live well, learning how to serve the people around you. And it does seem like there is a purpose for all of it. So it seems like from religious texts, they often point towards how human beings can live well, how we can learn to serve our planet. And every time religious texts come, it seems to be connected to the last one and the ones that come after. So it does seem like there is a common thread that God sends down an educator and humanity turns to it.
And I think the reason that helped me develop my trust in God and my belief in God was just understanding that everything there is in life has a higher purpose to it, has a greater meaning.
If you have a worldview that's too narrow to yourself, it feels like, for me anyway, that I would get caught up in what I wanted to do. I wouldn't look outside of myself. And yeah, there's some things about like sort of how you act and like who holds you to account on those things that I think like believing God helps me develop my own sense of accountability on those things.
Through my life, whatever relationship I've had with organized religion, through all my stages, like being a teenager and all that, I've never once doubted that God exists, because I just feel like the sense of having a higher power, like something bigger than yourself, it helps you move through life in a way that's not so selfish, but also it keeps kind of like your conscience in check, if that makes sense.
I think it comes down to a simple fact that God is the creator. I believe God is the creator, and we are the created beings, that in fact He has created everything in the universe, and that includes us. And a created being can never understand its creator.
I think it's just at the end of the day, it makes sense to me, and what's the worst that could happen?
I don't know. I think I just believe there's a greater force beyond human, and I think it's a very natural thing for me that there should be something greater.